Welcome to the exclusive webinar of the Invest India's Agni Mission under the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. I am Monil Khatri in conversation with Pratap Raju, founding partner of the Climate Collective Foundation. Pratap is also serving as a country head for the New Energy Nexus India, founding partner for the Climate Seed Fund and India National Partner for Climate Launchpad. Pratap, thank you for joining us. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you. It's great to talk to you again, and always a pleasure to work with Agni.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pratap, you started off in finance with economic and banking majors from Harvard and Oxford and various Wall Street jobs as a trader. How have you transitioned from such illustrious profession to the climate space?
Well, it's kind of like what it's like being an entrepreneur. You try something, you see if it succeeds, you see that if it fits what you're looking for. If not, you move on. And sometimes people do stick to careers because it's comfortable. This transition is harder for whatever reason. Even at a young age, I kind of felt like it was the time to explore. If something was not working, I was a banker, and of course, banking does pay well, and it's a good career for many people. It wasn't for me. I left and I tried my hand at multiple things. I've been an entrepreneur for 20 years, after banking to being an IT entrepreneur to a film producer to a solar developer, and now to the Climate Collective. And it's been just experimentation and learning about what I'm looking for, where I can add the most value or impact myself, and this is where I am now.
Right, perfect. Thanks for this, Pratap. Agni Mission is a proud partner of the Climate Collective Foundation. I believe together we have supported various initiatives, including last few seasons of the Climate Launchpad, Climate Ready for Women and Plastic Challenges. Right. Additionally, under the larger banner of innovations mitigating climate change, the Agni Mission has played an active role as an enabler. We partner with potential adopters, including corporates, PSUs, and ministries to address their internal challenges and innovation requirements from the pool of 600 plus technologies that the Agni portfolio has. The use cases are mostly developed around offsetting carbon footprints generated because of the core operations or introduction of a new product line or improving internal efficiencies, I would say. Right. In this regard, we do scout startups with solutions around alternate renewable source of energy generation or alternate solar panel materials, electric vehicles, battery technologies, mobility, hydrogen as fuel, energy efficiency and management using deep tech, and many more. Agni Mission works closely with Ministry of Power, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Ministry of Mines, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change to scout relevant technologies from the startup, public R&D labs, and MSCE ecosystem. With the Climate Collective Foundation, we are also partnering with the Climate Startup Week, the South Asia's largest cleantech startup event, which is scheduled from September 3rd this year. Pratap, this is the second season of the Climate Startup Week after the one organized last year, right? How was the success seen in the previous version of 2020 Climate Startup Week, and what are the additional components brought in this season?
Right. So maybe I just want to first point out one thing is when we started 5 years ago, cleantech was in a very nascent stage here. We had our first solar hackathon in 2016. It was like being in India's startup world 15 years ago, generally, where people where stakeholders are coming together, platforms were being built for startups and entrepreneurs coming up. What we've seen on the ground the last 2 years is an explosion of entrepreneurs, startups on the ground. And as a result, we need more ecosystem platforms and players. So that's where we have benefited a lot from Agni, and being who they are or who you are, being able to bring lots of corporates to come together, of course, the startups, all the value that over the years have helped us. And I think that is our need now, is to start thinking ecosystem, because we're starting to reach a critical mass. So last year, Climate Startup Week was trying to do something similar. As all this activity is happening, can we create a week where, for example, we could have startups pitching, investors startups and entrepreneurs meeting investors, training maybe on the carbon impact, and that's sort of was our first attempt last year. I think we had about 640 attendees, mostly entrepreneurs, and if I saw the numbers, 130 startups pitching. We had other programs in cleantech launching their programs during Startup Week, so this was a sign that people were looking for these ecosystem platforms. This year, we're building on that same success because the cleantech startup ecosystem has done nothing but grow since last year. So I think this year we have 22 events, and across the same breath, 100 plus cleantech startups pitching to trainings in impact and voluntary carbon markets. We have a startup school launching this year as well. This year we have this week we have a partnership with IIC, India Impact Investors Council, to run a 2-day investor summit that's happening on a separate platform, but during the same Climate Startup Week on the 9th and 10th as well. So increasing the interaction with the investor side this year has been growing. So it's quite exciting, and in fact, I would say it's been a deepening of the platform Startup Week this year, which is quite nice.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this. Pratap, very briefly, can you also touch upon the India Climate Investment Conclave, which is also part of the Climate Startup Week?
Right. So IIC and Climate Collective, in addition to RIT advisors, have come together to put together this summit, and we saw that there was a need to increase the collaborations and networking in the capital side for early stage capital into clean tech startups. There's, of course, a lot of activity in the last 10 years on the project side. We see, especially renewables, etc. And we know that there's a lot of interest from larger impact investors into the clean tech startup world. The difficult piece was the early stage capital. And one thing that we had thought was launching a report. We're just going to launch this at the conclave itself as well, to provide more information to all the stakeholders. In fact, some of the things that I always hear is the surprise at many stakeholders of how much activity is actually happening on the ground in clean tech. And events, reports like this and events like this should really increase the interest of more stakeholders. I do believe clean tech is going to be one of the strong pillars of India's startup cleanup ecosystems. For sure, for many reasons. We have such strength in technical engineering, applied R&D. We have a lot of potential actually out of India to take our solutions to the wider world around us as well, in Southeast Asia and Africa. Right. I think there's tremendous opportunity to bring in many more people, as I think clean tech offers something unique. The ability to think about a business or a startup, but also make an impact that's intertwined to the actual startup that you do. So I think it excites a lot of people who combine their passion or our desire for impact with a career as well.
Right. Perfect. So Pratap, just because you have touched this topic, you have been in the space for quite some time, and considering yourself as an investor or rather enabler here, what would be that one learning you have had in your professional life that you would like to tell our audience here?
Oh, for entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs? Okay, I do have one, and it does follow my trajectory. And I've seen this in talking to lots of entrepreneurs at various stages, early before their startup. There's a fear that if I do this, I lose out. I may fail. I may not get back my career. I lose that 2 years, and how do I get back? I think a lot of this is more our fear of starting. And in fact, I've had careers where I've lost my job. So I don't think the stability of being in a job may be as rock solid as you think, as people think, especially in today's world. I think the biggest thing that holds us back from this risk is the fear of the unknown, and sometimes it gets exaggerated more than what we see in practice. I do know that a lot of people, especially professionals, when they do a startup, more and more MNCs and corporates, for example, I should say, are excited by the learnings, from a startup failure and coming back to corporate world, because you learn how to do things differently. So I think what we're seeing, and maybe it could go faster, is that there's an acceptance that the learnings as an entrepreneur are actually quite powerful. And even if you don't remain as a startup entrepreneur, you may see that it opens up many more opportunities as you build these skills that are somewhat unique.
Perfect. This is a place where enablers like yourself and us, Agni Mission, give the de-risking support which is required for the aspiring budding entrepreneurs here. Perfect. Thank you so much for this, Pratap. As a part of the Climate Startup Week 2021, the Agni Mission is co-hosting a panel discussion around the government support rendered to the climate-aligned startups in India. We have panelists participating from the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, the Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to Government of India and National Institute of Disaster Management, discussing about policies and the support given by the government in promoting innovations, mitigating climate change in all forms. We do have an exclusive Agni session on September 11th on use cases developed in the last 3 years around climate change. We will discuss more about the requirements received from corporates and ministries and how Agni Mission supports the innovator. You will find the link to register for all the sessions on the climatestartupweek.com. I'm repeating myself. You will find the link to register on climatestartupweek.com. Taking the session to end, thank you so much for your time, Pratap. Really appreciate your presence here and wish you best luck for the Climate Startup Week 2021.
Great. I do want to thank Agni again for not just the support during the Climate Startup Week, but over the last few years as well. I think together with others, we really can make this a very exciting startup ecosystem here in India.
For sure. Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. See you during the session. Cheers.
Bye.